And the Marlies are in the playoffs, and on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, the 19th, 21st, and 23rd, they'll be playing here in Toronto. You can get your tickets at torontomarlies.com or 416-597-PUCK, and all the away games you can see here on Leafs TV. It's time for Tell Me Something I Don't Know, and Mark Morrow, you are up first.
Yeah, and thankfully it's the last one, because there's a lot I don't know. But one thing I do know is that Joel Mayers is one player who's willing to sacrifice himself for the good of his teammates. And he comes by that approach honestly because he is an NHL player due to being the recipient of sacrifices of his mother and brother. Because as a young child, he was raised by his mother only. And she would work multiple jobs so that she could provide every opportunity for Jamal and his brother Alan to have all the great things in life, including playing hockey. But there came a time when money became tight, and the decision was made that Jamal could no longer play. Only his brother Alan, who was 6 years older, would be able to. Over the course of that following year, Alan realized how much hockey meant to the young Jamal, decided to quit the game so that Jamal could play, and he sacrificed himself. Jamal then became the recipient of playing again, earned a scholarship to Western Michigan where he earned his degree, and now he's living out the dream of being a National Hockey League player, all because of the sacrifices of his mother and brother.
Wow, great story. You know what? I'm going to stick with the Marley plug. Jeff Jackson, the assistant general manager of the Toronto Marlies. Did you know in 1983 he was the Maple Leaf draft pick, drafted 28th overall. In 1985, he won World Junior Gold with Team Canada. Wendell Clark was on that same team. He outscored Wendell Clark 8 points to 5. After an 8-year career in the NHL, he went back to school, practiced law at the University of Western Ontario, earned his law degree, came here, got a job in Toronto as a lawyer practicing sports management. 2006, he got hired by John Ferguson Jr. He's the current Maple Leafs assistant general manager. And one dubious note, in the spring of 1987, Jeff Jackson was traded from the Toronto Maple Leafs to the New York Rangers for, you got it, right here.
Huh?
We switched apartments. You use my apartments, too much partying going on there, but we are good friends now. Serve on the Toronto Maple Leaf board, something you did not know.
Well, here's something I didn't know about Jay Harrison until this morning. Jay is the product of a family who have named members of different generations after birds. He's Jay. He's not Jason. Mr. Harrison explains further.
Huh.
My grandpa liked to think that my grandpa's name was Oriole, and I was always his Blue Jay. So we had a bird tradition going. We said we'd always try and keep it going through the generations and have someone in the family named after a bird if it was fitting and appropriate.
You've got a young family, and I assume it's going to continue to get larger. Might that bird tradition continue with you?
It just might. You have to ask my wife. She definitely have to agree on the name. But there's lots of cool names, and there's lots of cool symbolism that you can share. And traditions are cool as well to keep up with your family. So you're always in touch with your roots and your history, and you can always be proud of it. So.
Hey, how about those Jays? And how about my all-bird team guys? The general manager, Dale Talon. In nets, we've got Eddie the Eagle. On defense, Kevin Hatcher. Robin Regier. Left wing, Mike Eagles. He, of course, loves Dale Talon. Center, former Leaf and Bob Wren. And on the right wing, a 500-goal scorer from Sarnia, Pat Verbeek.
Let's not forget to acknowledge the nest on your head there either.
Well, yeah.
I made him cut that. Yeah, we had to make that. Okay, here's something I don't know. What are the Sens going to do moving forward, Paul?
I think they're going to get better. They're good in nets. I think they've got to get better on the blue line. Drafted a defenseman in the first round last season, and I like their chances. But I think they've got to keep this group intact, and I think Mark Osborne, with the three that they've got, they're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, the big three, it's something that they're banking on, obviously. You know what? At the trade deadline, they picked up Pascal Leclerc. Yes, Brian Elliott has done a remarkable job, but the fact is Pascal Leclerc is a big thing for the future. Anytime you can score as many goals as those guys, you need secondary scoring. You need Mike Fisher, you need Kelly, you need the likes of that, and getting some young defensemen like a Chris Campoli that can move the puck will only add to their offense.
I think the big question with the big threes, yes, you have them intact, you got them locked in long term, but can you get that secondary scoring you're talking about with the contracts and the length of the term that these guys have? That'll be the question for Ottawa moving forward.
Well, as far as Jason Spezza is concerned, 72 points, not a bad season, but not a great season for him. It has been a learning year, to say the least.
Yeah, you learn a lot through times when you're losing, and we learned a lot this year, and you go through a lot of struggles, and especially early on in the year, it was real tough, but we're playing better now.
Pat Quinn once said, "You're never as good as you think you are, or ever as bad." Does this team realize it's a lot better than it's been?
I think so. Hockey's a bit of a mental grind at times, and the good players are as consistent as they can be and try to not get too high or too low.
Important, Daniel, to keep the core of the squad intact, that you're not far away from getting back to where you want to be.
Yeah, I believe we've had a team that could compete, and obviously it was very frustrating for everybody because we thought we underachieved, and we did, and we know we can be a good team, and I'm sure Brian believes in that as well, and he's told us throughout the year as well that we're better than we're playing, and obviously it's nice to get something going for us here the last few months.
Finally, stability in nets with a healthy Pascal Leclerc next season, and Brian Elliott, Mark Morrow, I think, is showing he belongs.
He definitely is. A 16-7-3 record in the 30 games he's played. Alex Auld is a very capable backup goaltender, but I'm not sure he's the number one answer. They found that in Pascal Leclerc. Now the question is, do they want to keep young Brian Elliott on the bench behind him or move forward with an Alex Auld?
Well, you know what? I mean, if I'm Brian Elliott, I'm saying, okay, fine. You know, it's Pascal Leclerc's job. That's the reason they picked him up. 10 NHL shutouts last year. Here's the goaltender that they've missed for the last couple of seasons.
Jody, he's 26 years of age. He's got a great career in front of him.
Yes, and we've got a little bit more of show in front of us after a quick break here. When we come back, the guys are going to tell you what they think is going to happen in the here and now, in the immediate. We'll play a little GameMaster, get some final score guesses out of these guys next. Stick around, the pregame continues. And as we mentioned off the top of the show, Tim Stapleton in the lineup tonight after scoring the goal that forced overtime for the Marlies last night. And now he's dressing for the big club as a reward.
He will play in his 4th game in the National Hockey League. This is a guy who looks like Doogie Howser, MD, but he has that killer instinct on the ice. And I'm hoping in the game's new rules that there's a place for someone his size, because he is very exciting to watch.
Paul Hendrick, he is my height. He's
I don't
little.
think so.
I
might be taller than him in heels. I'm not going to lie to you. Okay, we got a little GameMaster to play. Yes, are you guys ready?
Bring it on.
Okay, well then, Mark Morrow, you go first. What do you think is going to happen tonight, Mr. GameMaster? Oh, come on.
I've got to
so nothing's changed over the course of the season?
This is very true. I've got to think Martin Gerber steps up against his old teammates. He's got so much to prove after a long, tenuous relationship with them, and I think he's going to pull this one out for the Maple Leafs. Won't be high scoring, but I'm going to say 4-3 for the Leafs.
Fun for the fans.
And when you're 15-16 at home, you're one game under 500. You got to think the final game of the season, Leafs are going to win to at least get to 500 at home.
Yes, the Leafs play well on Saturday nights, and I agree with both of you guys. I think the Leafs are going to win their 13th game of the season here on a Saturday night. It's Brian Elliott's 24th birthday today, but I think Martin Gerber outplays him. In fact, he's going to play for that contract with the Maple Leafs next fall. And I like the Maple Leafs. I love Anton Volchenkov, well into the hundreds of hits and block shots. He is indeed a warrior, but I think on this particular night, Toronto over Ottawa, even up at home at 500 as Aussies indicated.
You mentioned a birthday. We've got Riley's 10th birthday right here at Leaf Nation HQ. You never know what's going to happen here at Gate 1 of the Air Canada Centre. We've had a lot go on over the course of this season. Paul Hendrick, what number is this for you, like game 91?
It's 90, and it's been a privilege and a pleasure to be a part of it, and we love doing it. And we've got to talk about Nikolai Kuhlman just a bit. Not in the lineup tonight because he blocked a shot. The foot was sore, and we may get to see him playing for the Toronto Marlies. And with he and Progrin in that lineup, we might see the Marlies go as deep and maybe deeper than they did last season, providing they get the goaltender.
Andy Petrillo not here for tonight's program. She's been covering all kinds of sports, whether it's soccer or the NBA, so we thank Andy for her time. Thank you to you guys. What a great season it's been. We've had a whole lot of fun. Thank you so much, Leaf Nation. Remember, you can listen to Joe Bowen do the play-by-play on tonight's game on AM 640. Of course, be back here for the post-game show. See you at the rink, everyone.